What's going on, Schrute Stock Squad? Today is Sunday, March 28th, 2021, and this video is for entertainment purposes only. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about BNGO, the current market conditions, how I want to play things, and everything in between, all right? So stick around with the family here, and I think you're going to like what I have for you. If you're new to this channel, guys, this is Schrute Stocks, where I show you my journey to $1 million openly, transparently, no screen cropping out, no BS like that. You won't find this on YouTube and many other places. You're actually going to be able to see me put my money where my mouth is here, all right? All I ask in return is you hit that like and subscribe button. Now let's get into this, all right? So, look, I'm going to cut right to the chase. So basically, right now in my buying power, I have $6,500, all right? I'm going to talk about what I said yesterday. I'm going to dollar cost average into these plays that I want. NEO, SDPK, Palantir, MP, and Skills. You build your foundation layer, guys. What have I been emphasizing from the very beginning? Think of your portfolio like a cake. Foundation, middle layer, frosting. Foundation, middle, frosting. Your foundation should make 40 to 60%. Middle layer is like 30. Frosting is 20. I'm keeping this very simple. So if you have $100, $50 goes into your foundation layer stocks. Now remember those stocks. You only pick 4 or 5. 4 or 5 stocks you want to keep for 5 to 10 years. 5 to 10 years, all right? I want you to think back, you know, where you were 10 years ago in your life right now. Let's say you're 18, think back to when you were 8. Oh, if you're like 38, think back to when you were 28, all right? That's 10 years. Which stocks do you think will still be there and still be doing well in 10 years, all right? Middle layer, that 30%, you do only 1 to 2 year plays, you know, something smaller term like that. And then the frosting, those are your penny flips or, you know, the shorter term stocks, okay? So that's what I'm going to be doing with these this $6,500. I want to be going into those foundation layer plays. Now, the next thing I want to talk about here is I'm going to be talking to you about BNGO real quick. Let me get this thing pulled up. Okay, BNGO, BIONANO GENOMICS. All right. So as you can see, BNGO closed on Friday at 775, and it was pretty flat in the after hours as well. Now, let me talk to you about what is BNGO, BioNano Genomics. I know for a fact you guys must have heard this somewhere else on YouTube. People have been talking about it for a few months. Let me tell you my spin on it because I have a little bit of experience in the medical field. I'm in medical school myself. Listen, guys, this sure as hell is not financial advice, this channel, and definitely is not going to be medical advice. So just take that for a fact right there. But I want to give you what I understand of it so far, and I think you're going to enjoy how I break things down. Like I said, guys, I'm one of the few people on YouTube who's going to take these like extremely complex subjects and break it down to the basics. I like to think of pluses and minuses, and I like to think of cakes and pies. Let me go into this. So BNGO is a genomics company, okay? Genomics is just a word to mean, just think of it as DNA for now, okay? Just think, you know, DNA, that's the thing that makes up who you are in your cells. That's what it is. And because it makes up who you are, it can get into personalized medicine, okay? Very important right there, personalized medicine. They're focused on research, development, and manufacturing of the hardware and components for genetic analysis. You know, genetics, like the genes that you have in the DNA, that's what they do. Their flagship product is called the Sapphire system. And this platform enables researchers and clinicians to accelerate their discovery pathway for new diagnostics and therapeutic targets. I'm going to say that again. BNGO's flagship product is the Sapphire system, and this is going to enable researchers and clinicians to accelerate the discovery pathway for diagnostics. That means, you know, figuring out what's wrong with you, and therapeutics, meaning what can we give to fix you. It's going to accelerate that pathway, okay? Remember that. I'm going to make this very simple. Think of this thing like let's say you get the cold, okay? Let's say you get the cold. It's not going away for a few days. And, you know, for you, it's not going away for a few days. But let's say I got that same cold that you have. I don't feel it at all. I'm fine. Why is it that you get sick and I don't? You notice whenever you might get the flu or something like that in your family or wherever you're living, and everybody gets sick, and not every person recovers the same way, and some people recover faster and slower than others. Why is that? It's because of your genetics. You have different immune system responses, okay? And so right now, let's say every person in your family got sick, and you go to the doctor and say, hey, you know, I've been feeling sick for a while, you know, and I got this cold. What can you do for me? Right, doc? What do they give you half the time you go there? They give you some sort of antibiotic or, you know, whatever treatment like that. They give that same exact thing for all of you. Even though you guys all had different responses, even though you're all having different symptoms like that, you all get the same treatment. That is not personalized medicine. You follow what I'm saying? And this is why chemotherapy as a whole is, I'm talking about flu and I'm just making this simple with the common cold, but you can expand this out to think of chemotherapy. My dad had chemotherapy like earlier in my life, and I mean, he's still here with me, which I'm thankful for. But that chemotherapy let him with terrible side effects to this day. Like, he has neuropathy, pain, and a whole bunch of like vision problems. It's terrible. And yeah, the cancer is gone, but think of it. When you give a patient chemotherapy, that's just, hey, here's this thing that's going to mess up a lot, like, the bad cells, but it's also going to mess up the good cells. And guess what ends up happening? You end up living with the side effects for life. And so this is game-changing technology, all right? Game-changing technology. So let's go into the stock a little bit. In total, they have 4 products. They have the Sapphire, they have another one called the Iris, and then they have another one called BioNano Prep Kits, and then they have another one called BioNano Status Solutions, all right? So let me just take a look at my notes. Okay. And basically, what they do is this company markets their products to labs within academia, government, and research institutions. They also work with pharma companies, like J&J, Pfizer, those types of people. They work with pharma companies and biotech to contract research companies over the world. So they're making this technology. They're working with all these institutions and companies and all that to get research data from them across the world. And what they end up doing is a lot of their revenue, though, is coming from one country, United States. 50% of the revenue of BNGO is coming from the United States. All right. Let's talk a little bit about their financials with this regard. So in 2020, it was a bad year for BNGO. Believe it or not, even despite you look at this run up, it was pretty bad for its revenue, right? The company, the revenues were down almost 39% from 2019. Now, the company is blaming this thing because of, the bug that went around the world last year. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it or not, but, that bug that came across the world last year. What they're saying is that because of that, all these labs shut down. And so they weren't buying this product from BNGO. And what they're saying is now that the vaccines are going to roll out, things like that, and places are going to open up, now we might start seeing the revenues increase again. But I want you to remember, think of it this way. What they're trying to say is, if you're in college or you were working last year, your buildings were probably shut down for a certain point, and that means the research buildings are also shut down. So that's what ends up happening in this situation. Now, I don't think that's a big risk factor in my opinion. Hopefully we don't see another shutdown like that again in our lifetime, but that's something to consider like that. Let me see, where was I? So as of 2021, there are currently 4 sell-side analysts covering this company, and they project the revenues to grow a lot over the next 4 years, from 8 million in 2020 to 138 million in 2024. So according to their investor presentation from early this, like a month or two in 2021, they estimated, so the company gave that presentation, they estimated that there's a total addressable market from 2.6 billion all the way to 4 billion. That's the range, all right? Now, the industry itself is expected to grow from 8 to 14%. But think of this thing, guys. BNGO is offering complementary and replacement products, so they might be able to grow at a much higher rate than this. And their goal, what they said, is to distribute 10,000 units of the Sapphire system every year. And remember, that's their flagship. You see? So there's a lot of growth opportunity from what I was seeing on this thing. A lot of growth opportunities. Now, let's talk about this company's, value proposition. Like, what are they offering to the table that's different than everyone else, okay? Basically, let's talk about the Sapphire system. It's a holistic platform for detecting structural variants in DNA, okay? Structural variants really simplifies the cytogenetics workflow, and this basically will really increase the speed at which analysis can be done on millions of DNA base pairs. You guys remember back in I don't know if you took like high school bio or something like that. They gave those DNA base pairs. Remember A, T, G, C? Those like letters ring a bell. Anyway, each one of those things, that A, T, or G, C, that's considered nucleotide. Okay. So what they're doing here is this technology is enabling if you put the patient sample in there and all that, you can rapidly detect any of the structural differences between these samples. So what that means is you're increasing the processing speed of this whole entire thing. Consider 23andMe. Okay, I'm bringing up that because in my earlier videos I was talking about that company when I was invested in that SPAC. 23andMe is a great company. They do DNA analysis, all of those things. But think how long the turnaround time is. Now, if we're talking about a system like, let's say you have chemotherapy, let's say you have, cancer, you have some, like, hell, even diabetes, these are, you want the results fast, this is not something we want to wait anymore that we need to. So huge game changer in my opinion. Also, based on the testimonials so far of the Sapphire system, they seem encouraging, and it seems to suggest that there's an increase in throughput and a drop in price per sample and improved ease of use. Recent studies also show that this platform could assist in the, this bug that's been going on. It can assist in oncology studies about that and detection of that bug. All right. So where was I? Sorry. Basically, what's happening is this technology is getting a lot more credibility in the entire genomics sector. I want you to understand this, guys. Genomics is such a new phase of where we're at. You think Tesla and Neo are game changers? No. I want you to think, imagine investing in Tesla before, this is like investing in Tesla in like 2010 or something like that. It's really far out. And I'm not trying to say this is going to be the Tesla. I don't want to make that like comparison, but it's in that realm of how like new this sort of stuff is. And it's truly game changer. And the fact that they have this much progress and what they're doing so far, I really like it. But with all of these good things, let's talk about the negatives, all right? So I want you to be aware of this. The first one is that the company's cash burn is about the company's cash burn. They were burning through a lot of cash last year. So they resolved this by issuing a capital raise of $230 million at $6 per share. Okay, that's what caused this thing to dip at that point. And at their current cash burn rate, that should give them around 6 to 7 years worth of money that they'd be good to go with. But I want you to know this though. The company does burn through cash now. And what we need to understand is that the equity raises so these equity raises that they're doing dilutes the shares. Okay, so the value of each share is going to decrease whenever they do this, and that's kind of what they ended up having to do this past year. They expect themselves. This is coming from the company's mouth, BNGOs. They expect to incur a loss in 2021. They're already expecting it to be down. Remember, that doesn't mean that the stock is going to go down. Remember, these stock prices are not valued at, hey, this is what the company's worth. This is what people value it at. Very different. Very different, because we are valuing it based on what it could be doing. You follow? Why do you think Bitcoin is worth what it is? Because people think it's going to be really high in the future. So that's kind of how this thing plays around. All right. Let me see. Where else was I? So yeah, they expect to continue incurring a loss here, and that there may be a need to increase additional funds via equity or debt borrowing in this early half of 2021. So they might end up needing to do another thing like that as well. So this should be able to reduce the short to medium term risks on that end. All right. Another big risk factor for this is the customer concentration. One customer represents 10% of this of their accounts receivable. What that means is it's not that 10% of their sales come from this one person, but 10% of the money that's owed to them is what the accounts receivable is getting from one customer. So, if that customer decides to default and they can't pay or whatever the hell, then that could put them in a little bit of trouble for now. One other thing that they also that they have going on, which I thought this was kind of a red flag. So as of right now, they're still waiting to get FDA approval for medical use. Right now, this cannot be used. You go to your doctor today, they can't use this. This is only currently being used at research labs, and this is very detrimental for growth. So if the FDA approval goes south, guys, this is I don't want to say it's a terrible company, but that's a big hindrance on their potential growth. All these great big things we talked about, game changer technology, this and this. it can't be game changing if there's no FDA clearance. So that's just one thing you got to keep in mind. That's always something you need to be wary of. All right. Let's see what else. Another thing that I want to say, remember I said this thing can only detect a single nucleotide, that 1A or the ATGC can only detect one of them. That makes it much more of a complementary technology versus game changing in that sense. Because this is why I say that, because when you can only see one of those nucleotides, whenever your body is like encoding proteins and things like that, it does it in pairs of 3, not one base pair. So it requires much more. You'd have to run the samples many times in order to get the accurate idea of what is specifically being messed up in this patient's DNA. So it's not necessarily like it can replace 110% right now of, we can tell you exactly what your body is about to react like and things like that. So just keep that in mind, all right? So let's look at price targets and financials a little bit. Currently it's trading at $7.75, right? It has a median price target of $14.33. That gives this thing 85% upside. The high price target of 15 implies 94% upside, and it has a low price target of $14, which is 81. Guys, I think that's a very good rating on this thing. Remember Wall Street, what I say, even though all these guys are 5-star analysts, they have great ratings, they're amazing. They're not my friend. They can be as nice as they want, but they're not my friend, and they're not your friends either. Take that with a grain of salt. We've seen many times when these analyst ratings go south, so we can't just take it as, as this is truth, all right? But it helps in supporting our positions, okay? Because remember, these people, they need to, the more accurate they are, the more money they make. You follow? They'll get higher bonuses in their company. They have incentives to make the right call, but again, they're not our friends. So let me see what else. And so that's what 3 analysts have given it, and one guy gave it a hold back from December. So no changes on that end. And basically, this is what I want to say. They had this huge run up coming in on December, and whenever you see a stock go from like $1 all the way to 15, like, that's not based on fundamentals. That's not, in no company 15x's, in 2-3 months, that just doesn't happen on fundamentals. I don't care what you're making. That just doesn't happen. So that's why what I think ended up happening here is a lot of short-term investors, they made some big gains, huge gains, and they started taking some profit. That's my theory on this thing. They ended up taking some profits. There's the rising 10-year interest rate also played an effect here. And of course, what's NIO's issue? What's Tesla's issue? What's every company's issue? What have I been saying? Semiconductors. Semiconductors are used in BNGO. Now do you see why I say what I say about NIO? Do I really think that the semiconductor shortage is going to exist for 10 years? Guys, if semiconductor shortage exists for 10 years, well, we're screwed. I'll just tell you right now, we're all screwed, because there's no more phones, there's no more TV, there's nothing. I don't want to say I can promise or guarantee, but I believe that will not happen. So with that said, I think that this has very good growth potential, things like that. And if you've done your homework on it, don't just go with what I say. Again, do your own DD, all of that stuff. Actually, I don't want to just brush over it. Definitely do your own DD, okay? Even though I said all this stuff, research it yourself, guys. Please. You need to convince yourself, because let's say this stock tanks to $2. What are you going to do? Seriously, what's your plan if it goes to $2? Do your own DD, okay? That's how you can convince yourself to stick with these plays. Now, potential entry points, all right? I'm going to make this quick because I ramble a lot here. So, potential entry points. Anything is the $7 range. Quite honestly, I kind of like the $7 range. $7 range seems like a good place for me if you want to initiate a position in that region. On March 5th, I know we ended up hitting like a really low point of like, I think it hit like 5, like it dipped below, ended up dipping below $6. It was at like 5.58. So in an ideal world, we can get this thing anywhere between like, 5.50 to 6.50. Oh yeah, that would be an amazing spot to get it. But basically what I'm really looking for is $7.30. That's where I want to start to initiate a position, and then I might dollar cost average a little bit later into this thing a little bit more. But we don't know if we're going to see the $5 region again. So I'm really thinking of seeing this thing in that 730s, start a position there, and then go in that region. Now you might be wondering, how am I going to start a position, right? Because what? I told you I'm going to be spending my $6,000 on the foundation plays. What I'm going to be doing for that, I may end up taking some cash out from these CTXR or CTRM. Guys, you do not need to always, remember, if it's going in a frosting layer, that same amount of money has to stay within this layer, guys. You can't take money from here and then throw it here, or money from your medium term or your foundation into short term. No. Stick with what I was telling you guys. If it's in your frosting layer, that 20% of the money can be there. Now, it doesn't have to be 2 stocks, right? I could divide this thing up amongst 3 stocks. Of course, that means it's going to be, if CTXR triples, it's less than it would have been because now I have 3 in the frosting layer. You follow? But if I do consider adding in BNGO, I'm going to be taking a little bit out of CTRM and CTXR, throwing that into BNGO, and just throwing that into my short-term plays. Now, BNGO could very possibly go from a short term to a medium, and then who the heck knows, in 5 years, it could end up being a foundation. Who the hell knows? But for right now, it is not a medium term. It's not a foundational. It's sticking in that frosting layer. All right, guys, that's a short term cattle. It's a short term play like that, and that's how we do it. All right. I know this was a little bit longer video than usual. I just wanted to give you guys my own DD, what I've been researching. I know a lot of people have been talking about getting in on this company, but they don't actually tell you why to get in on it. It's kind of sad. And if they ever show you any analyses and things like that, they make it the most complicated thing on earth to understand what the hell is going on. So if you appreciate this sort of content, I know this is a little bit longer video, but I just want to give you guys as thorough as possible on this thing. So if you appreciate this sort of content, again, please feel free to like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And if you want to take this investment journey seriously and you want to take it to the next level, join in the family over on Discord. I have the link in the Patreon below. We've been growing portfolios tremendously, and we've been collaborating. Probably one of the best communities out there, and I don't say that lightly. And with all that said, I'm going to wrap up the video. You know the deal, right? Stay happy, stay healthy. Let's get wealthy. See you.